Good morning. A warm welcome to you this morning. You are at the second annual Breakfast of Hope for Mental Health Connect. This year, it happens to be virtual for all of our safety. I'm really happy to be here with you this morning and to be able to greet you. My name is Vicki Elliott, and I'm the Director of Mental Health Connect. So what is Mental Health Connect? Mental Health Connect provides navigation, access to services, early intervention, and resources. We provide education about mental health, helping to destigmatize mental illness. And we provide community and support through our generous volunteers, our faith communities, and people just like you, around a topic that is familiar to all of us, mental health. Now, before I get started this morning, I want to say a special thank you to our sponsors. We have a personal relationship with each of these organizations, and if you like supporting companies that believe in helping people, you will want to check these organizations out. Our main sponsor is Alaris Financial. We are also sponsored by Kirk Thompson, attorney for workers' comp and disability. Journey Financial, Thrivent Financial in New Brighton. The Maintenance Team, the Bullis Agency, and Vale Place. We'll be highlighting each of them on our Facebook page with a link to their website. Please give them your support, and thank you to our sponsors for your generosity and for supporting mental health. Now, let me give you a rundown of our morning. Our breakfast this morning should last about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll have you on your way for your day. First, I'm going to go ahead and share some statistics and some information about mental health and mental illness and why Mental Health Connect is so necessary, especially right now. Next, we're going to have Michael Mattis, our keynote speaker for the day. He will be talking about the Resiliency Bank Account, and you're not going to want to miss that. Third, it's our premiere video this morning. It has never been seen before. When you watch this video this morning, you might see someone on there that you know. Thank you to our participants. And I also want to thank our videographer, Jeff, at Call Sign 51 for producing this beautiful video for our organization. And last, we're going to round out the morning with our board member, Mark Benkin, who is going to wrap it all up and tie everything together for you. He has an offer for you, and he'll be sending you off for the day. So let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to start out with some information about mental illness. Some of this may not be surprising to you. Some of it may be shocking. In the United States, 46.4% of adults, or almost half of us, will experience a mental illness in our lifetime. 42.2% of students reported a mental health diagnosis in their short lifetime. But only 41% of people, so less than half, with a mental illness receive professional services. Due to COVID-19 and the sudden change in our lifestyle, experts are calling the onset of depression and anxiety the underlying crisis. More than 1/3 of Americans are reporting related depression and anxiety. The average delay between the onset of a mental illness symptom until treatment is received is 11 years. Did you know that 1 out of 8 emergency room visits is mental health or substance abuse disorder related? Depression and anxiety disorders cost the global economy $1 trillion in lost productivity every year. And depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide. Mental disorders are the most expensive category of health costs for many employers. And last, globally, 800,000 people die by suicide each year. More than 48,000 people in the US alone. It is the second leading cause of death among young people. Well, that is what Mental Health Connect is working on. We believe that prevention and early intervention can create success. There is hope and help right here. It just takes one person, one resource, one phone call to change the direction of someone's life. We know that prevention can increase the quality of life. It can reduce emergency room visits. It can reduce suicide attempts. Research shows that untreated mental illness has negative effects not only on the person themselves, but on caregivers, family, and multiple generations. It can increase risky behavior, disability, injuries, and physical health problems. But we know that early intervention can reduce crime, reduce suicide attempts, lower substance abuse, lower neglect and child abuse, improve our education outcomes, decrease teen pregnancy, and reduce domestic violence, and so much more. In fact, growth in the area of prevention is needed. So just like our physical health, our mental health needs care too. You can see from this data that all of us are affected by mental health. Whether we know someone, we work with someone, maybe we've helped somebody, or it was us. Mental illness does not discriminate. It can affect anyone. And we are all part of the solution. Every $1 that you invest in prevention and early intervention for mental illness and addiction yields $2 to $10 in savings in health costs, criminal and juvenile justice costs, and low productivity. That sounds like an amazing investment to me. So there is help out there. So here's where mental health comes in. Here's where you come in. I'm going to wrap this up with 5 ways, 5 tips that you could help. Number 1, call our helpline. We have navigators that are ready for you. Call and let us know what keeps you up at night. There are new resources that are unfolding all the time. So we have resources for online support. We have peer support specialists that know what you're going through. Therapy and teletherapy. We have apps that you could download on your iPad or your iPhone. We have housing insecurity resources, food resources, videos, and online classes. We have support groups, free counselors, psychiatrists if you need medication therapy, organizations that specialize in grief, in trauma, in rape, PTSD, domestic violence, legal issues, children and youth. There's all kinds of different therapies that we have access to, including DBT, EMDR, and all sorts of alternative therapies that have surfaced. We have hotlines and we have warm lines and people that you can talk to. We have resources for all these areas and so much more. There is hope out there. Number 2, we provide an online casual conversation community every Thursday night at 8 p.m. It's called Let's Connect. Now, it's not awkward and it's not uncomfortable, I promise. We keep it moving along, we provide resources, and we stay on track with the conversation. This week, we're going to be talking about how to find help for someone that you love. Number 3, join Mental Health Connect's monthly presentations and education events. It's all online right now, and it's so easy to log in through Zoom. You'll meet knowledgeable people in the field, and you might just learn something new. Number 4, we collaborate with faith communities in the Twin Cities. We share resources, we have monthly meetings, and we get the word out about the support that's available. If you know of a faith community that would like to make mental health part of their mission and their ministry, please have them contact me. We love collaborating. And last, you can find out all about the help, the resources, and the community on our Facebook page. It's Mental Health Connect, our website, mhconnect.org, and of course our newsletter is full of healthful tips and ideas. In fact, you're going to want to sign up for that right now. As you can see, we're trying to get the word out about mental health and resources in many different ways. We help open doors. I hope this gives you an idea of why we're here and how you can become a resource for yourself or for someone else and the important work that is happening right here in Minnesota. Now, I am excited to introduce to you our keynote speaker. Michael Mattis captivates audiences with his unapologetic lessons on how to build a resilience bank account by practicing 8 daily habits that lead to optimal physical and mental performance. From 24 arrests as a juvenile to a successful career as a thoracic surgeon, and back down to the painful depths of prescription drug addiction, Michael has navigated life's twists and turns with resilience like few people you'll ever meet. It is my honor to present Mr. Michael Mattis.
Well, thank you very much, Vicki, and a special thanks to my good friend and neighbor, Diane Warwick, for providing this opportunity to be of service for this important cause with Mental Health Connect. The statement that's in the background, I want you to ponder that for a minute. And the statement is, the quality of our minds, the quality of our lives is determined by the quality of our minds. And if you reflect a little bit about times in your life when things are good and you're feeling great, and other times when you're struggling with anxiety, feelings of depression, whatever, it's very clear that our minds really do control our lives. Now, if you accept that premise of that statement, then the question becomes, what specific actions can we take to improve the quality of our minds and get off the autopilot program of our minds? Speaking of autopilot, did you know that 28% of smokers pair their first cigarette with their first cup of coffee in the day? And that 84% of people who really want to lose weight have a snack from the pantry, a beer, or a glass of wine within 25 minutes of coming home? Or that 92% of people, when they enter a room, turn in the direction of their dominant hand? See if any of these sound familiar to you. The color orange makes you feel hungry. The color blue makes you feel chilly or sad. Pen and ink drawings make you feel lonely. Or the theme from Rocky makes you feel like you can do anything in the world. So much of our lives being run automatically by the operating system in our brains. And the DNA that runs that operating system, well, it turns out that 50% of it is identical to a banana, 80% identical to a potato, and a whopping 96% is identical to that of a chimpanzee. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, 99.9% of your DNA is identical to whoever happens to be next to you. I'm not saying that you're all the same. There's magic in that 0.1%. It's where the soul, for many, it's where the soul or our relationship to God lies. But that other 99.9%, that's the focus of my talk today, ladies and gentlemen, because that's where our operating system resides. Our operating system got its start millions of years ago when climate shifts changed the forests of Africa to a more open savanna. Now our ancestors, the apes, had to evolve to hunt out in the open for their next meal. So they adapted by ditching the fur and evolving a skeleton and the exercise capacity to be able to pursue their prey, who because of their fur overheat and therefore they collapse. But our ancestors had another problem. The only weapons they had were sticks and stones. So there's no way one of them was going to go out solo and chase after some beast that could run faster and who could rip off their arm with one bite. They needed help, and lots of it. So they evolved to work together as a prey-killing team, and their brains got bigger so they could plan, track, coordinate, and communicate with each other. Now, working as a prey-killing team, they could chase after an animal until it overheated and collapsed, and then beat it to death with their sticks and stones. Then it was time for dinner, after a great day of teamwork and running. So our muscles and our brains grew up in the human household like conjoined twins. When we exercise, our muscles release a flood of molecules into the blood that dramatically increase our memory and the number of connections between our brain cells. The quality of our minds is literally connected to the use of our muscles. Exercise and human connection are baked into the genes of our human operating system. It was a matter of survival then, and it still is, since being sedentary and lonely are two of our biggest modern killers. Now, later today, I'm going to grab a bite to eat, and thankfully, I'm not going to have to go out and kill it. But you see, the modern world has dragged us away from our evolved operating system and is instead programming us with all sorts of modern new habits. The problem is that most of us don't program our operating system intentionally. Instead, we end up with an operating system filled with habits, good and bad, that have been drilled into us by our childhood, career, or other life experiences. And most of the time, these habits are installed without our awareness, and they become part of our normal personal operating system. Sometimes our normal personal operating system serves us well, and sometimes not. When it doesn't serve us well, it can pull us into a downward spiral that leads to anxiety, depression, loneliness, addiction, or even suicide. But if we can take control of our operating system, we can pull ourselves up into an upward spiral, and which will lead to increased energy, better sleep, better connections with others, and gratitude, which will all lead to the very thing that most of us want in life: contentment, purpose, and a good quality of mind. My mother was my worst nightmare, an alcoholic, often bedridden, and suicidal woman. When I was a teenager, I was every mother's worst nightmare. I liked to get high, steal cars, and burglarize joints. By the time I was 17, I'd been arrested 24 times and sent up to reform school 5 times. To avoid prison, I dropped out of high school and joined the Navy. And after I get my GED, go to school, and work my rear end off, and because a vocational interest test says I should be a doctor, I go to medical school. After graduation, I show up for the first day of my residency in my crisp, brand new white coat, thinking that I was only there to learn how to take care of patients and operate. Little did I know that the surgical residency had a hidden curriculum built into the fabric of training that would install 4 new habits onto my personal operating system, like the say yes to everything habit, no matter what, or the discipline habit, to keep going no matter what, or the be strong habit, so you can pretend you're okay even when you're not, no matter what. And of course, the self-sufficiency habit, the idea that I could manage everything on my own, no matter what. These 4 habits served me well in my 20-year career at the University of Minnesota. I developed a very busy practice. I had my own division. I became a full professor with an endowed chair and the surgical program director of training. I had a beautiful wife and 6 healthy kids. I had it all. But something wasn't right. Every night in bed, I would stare out the window at the big oak tree in our backyard and want to cry. I was lonely, but I didn't even realize it. And in the morning, as I sat on the edge of the bed, struggling to face another day, this gnawing angst would jump on my back and stay there all day long until I finally went to sleep. The quality of my mind was not good, and it was going to get a lot worse. Exercise had been my stress reliever for 30 years. I began having severe back and leg pain, and one day after a run, I bent over in front of our house, and I realized, bent over in pain in front of our house, and I knew at that moment that I would never be able to run again. I stood up, wiped the tears from my face, and went inside. After a 5-level lumbar fusion, I discovered that both my hips were bone on bone, a complete surprise. So I call a pain guy I know at work, who injects them without relief. Then he writes me a prescription for 360 tablets of narcotic. As I stared at the canister of pills, I thought to myself, you better watch it, you could get addicted. But my self-sufficiency kicked in to remind me that, nah, you can manage it. When I ran out of pills, all I had to do was page my guy and get a refill for whatever I wanted. I didn't even have to go to clinic. All without anyone knowing. 18 months later, I admit myself to treatment at Hazelden. Overnight, I go from full professor, endowed chair, blah, 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 to just another miserable drug addict in rehab. Being given, of all things, a tour by a Harvard medical student who was an alcoholic. I was not happy to be there, and I was, to put it mildly, resistant to the whole rehab program. Turns out I was actually voted least likely to succeed by my fellow inmates. Despite this rocky start, I came to realize that the habits of my personal operating system, what I called version 1 Mike Mattis, had somehow in some way propelled me into this mess. I decided it's time for an update to my personal operating system. The problem is, update with what? Well, first I got rid of the say yes to everything habit. And for once I said no to everything except my family and redesigning my personal operating system. I retire from surgery, one of the most difficult decisions I've ever made in my life. Overnight, I lost my entire identity. I become a house husband, and thanks to my surgical skills, one of the best around. Then one day, out of the blue, my daughter Maya, who's a college student at Boston College, sends me a video about gratitude that shows how the intentional practice of gratitude decreases stress and increases happiness and self-compassion. Now, when I was in treatment, my counselor, Paul, constantly badgered me about keeping a gratitude journal and writing 3 things in it that you're grateful for every day. Well, I thought this was nonsense. It just didn't seem like a strong enough action to a surgical type to make any meaningful difference in my life. Well, despite my bias and ignorance, I decided to do a scientific literature research. And guess what? I was dead wrong. Whether you do gratitude on your own, like I do now every morning with my gratitude journal, or whether you do it with someone else by saying thank you, showing appreciation, or writing a note or a letter of gratitude to somebody, the end result is the same. Activation of a very special part of the brain and the release of brain endorphins. Brain endorphins are the brain's naturally occurring narcotics. That's right, the brain's naturally occurring narcotics. And here's the kicker. The brain's naturally occurring narcotics are the body's natural stress relievers. Because I want this to sink in, I'm going to say it again. The brain's naturally occurring narcotics are the body's natural stress relievers. So here's the deal. The intentional practice of gratitude relieves and blunts stress in our lives, which is why it leads to so many positive changes, like decreased levels of inflammation in the body, less depression, and better sleep. But it gets even better. I'm sure most of you have seen pictures of monkeys that are sitting around picking the bugs out of each other's fur. Well, it turns out that monkeys spend 20% of their entire waking hours doing this mutual grooming. Way, way more time than is necessary to just get the bugs out. It turns out that they do it because it's the engine of monkey social harmony and is driven by the very same natural brain narcotics. It's the same with humans. Our natural brain narcotics lead to increased connection at home and at work. Less stress, more connection. Who doesn't want more of that? The intentional practice of gratitude is amazing in its results. It turns out that the intentional practice of gratitude taps into our brain's here and now reward system. The here and now reward system is run by 4 molecules: the brain's naturally occurring narcotics, serotonin, oxytocin, and endocannabinoids. These reward molecules fire up in the brain when we do things that are literally right in front of us, within arm's reach. Things like eating a good meal, keeping a gratitude journal, holding somebody's hand, connecting with others, reading, or being in nature. Things that involve the 5 senses. In my opinion, meditation is the critical training tool to help us be more present for activities that activate the here and now reward system, especially in this age of endless distractions, vying to dominate our time and attention. The other 2 reward systems in the brain are the desire reward system and the future reward system, and both are run by the molecule dopamine. The desire reward system was designed to help us survive by creating the desire for sex and food. But the dopamine of the desire reward system in the modern world has become our worst enemy because the modern world has unleashed a tsunami of options to satisfy the endless craving of the desire system. Grocery stores filled with sugar-laden foods, iPhones, email, Instagram, porn, and of course, alcohol and drugs. The modern list is endless. But we can make dopamine our friend by activating the future reward system. Here, dopamine is the engine of the future. It drives our long-term goals and planning and creates meaning in our lives. The future reward system is the motivational fuel that gets us to go out there into the world, to do things literally beyond our arm's reach. From something as simple as organizing your house or planning meals, or bigger goals like pursuing a career or starting a business. One of the best ways to tap into the future reward system is by being of service to others. Viktor Frankl's commitment to helping his fellow prisoners in Auschwitz gave him the meaning he needed in the midst of hell to be able to not only survive, but to survive psychologically intact. Okay, so how can we intentionally manage these 3 reward systems to improve our well-being and resilience? First, you must do your best to keep your brain in the best biochemical shape possible, with 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, a good diet, and regular exercise. This is the critical foundation. Second, we have to learn to ignore the whining of the desire system and to avoid, as much as we can, things that trigger its activation. Once again, meditation is a powerful ally here, as it helps untangle the knot we all have with our thoughts and emotions. Third, we must tap into the future reward system by setting goals that mean something to us and working toward them. They can be small goals or big goals, as long as they have meaning to us. Fourth, we need to commit time and energy intentionally to activities that activate the here and now reward system. These are the things that usually go by the wayside because we think we are too busy or because they just don't seem that important. Remember my attitude to gratitude? The critical thing is to commit to the functional reward system and the here and now side of the equation, and to intentionally and consistently carve out time for both, and to toggle between the 2 of them. Sometimes I do give my desire system a treat, but only now and then, and when I do, it's always Ben & Jerry's chocolate peanut butter swirl ice cream. Now here's one of the most important things I will tell you today. There is a way to fire up both the future reward system and the here and now reward system at the same time, a 2-for-1 deal. How? By doing creative things like art, learning how to play an instrument, learning a language, cooking meals for people you care about, planting a garden, writing blog posts, or building things with your hands. The physical act of using our hands and our senses to create something, again, that means something to us or to others, activates both reward systems at the same time. Art as therapy? I used to scoff at the idea. Once again, I was dead wrong. Now I just want to step back and talk about my son and the miracle of incremental change in our lives. This is Max, who's the second of my 6 children. As I alluded to in my talk, I've exercised vigorously all my life, and Max hated exercise. He liked to play hockey, but he hated exercising. So that became his belief system that he didn't like to exercise. Preview. So obviously he didn't follow in my footsteps. And as you can see, the modern world took over his dopamine desire system. One day he calls me out of the blue and he says, I need the name of a doctor. I got to see a doctor. My heart has been racing and acting up. I'm anxious all the time. My sleep is terrible. I'm short around the house. Something's wrong. I got to get it checked out. I said to him, Max, I'm happy to find you a doctor, but what you really need to do is change what you're doing and start to develop new habits. And I said, go out and take a walk today. Just a small walk. I don't care if it's just for 2 blocks. Just start doing that. And he did. And then he started extending his walks more and more. And he went out every day and walked. He was afraid, not so much for his own mortality, but when he talked to me, he was really afraid of not being there in fullness for his family and especially his 4 children who he adores. His being a father has some of the greatest meaning to him. So the mini crisis around his health led to an opening for his future reward system to be activated and good dopamine to come to the rescue. He changed one thing at a time, first by starting to walk, and then he changed his lunch at work. And eventually, it all started to spiral into an upward spiral. And this is how he looks today, 1 year later. He's lost all of the weight. He sleeps like a baby every night. He's happy, content. He has purpose in his life. This stuff works. The miracle of incremental change. It works when you start small, don't stop. And if you goof up, be gentle with yourself and just begin again, whatever it is you've started on. Thank you so much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I've been able to convince you that the quality of your life, you can improve the quality of your life by improving the quality of your mind.
My oldest son, Cole, when he was 19 years old, was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and it absolutely changed our lives. We experienced just about every sort of mental health crisis that you could imagine, police calls, addiction, homelessness, and we had a really tough time during those years finding resources for him and for us. In May of 2018, it's actually been almost exactly 2 years, he actually passed away from complications from his mental illness and addiction. He was in the hospital for 2 weeks and was battling a blood infection and ended up having a heart attack and passing away. And I think at that point, it made me realize that if we had known or if we had resources ahead of time, could we have helped him? I think we could have. We were Googling and researching and calling around, and it would have been so nice to not have to take that on ourselves and to be able to hand that off to an organization like Mental Health Connect.
I want people to know that Mental Health Connect is a great organization and that we are really working hard to make it easy for people to access the things that they need so that they can go out into life and be happy and be healthy. And I want people to know that mental health is a part of whole health, and the stigma reduction is a big piece of what we're trying to do with mental health and education, because if you go to the emergency room for a broken leg, you should go to the emergency room or to Mental Health Connect or to other resources for your mental health as well, because it's just as important.
If the help is available, it can change a person's life. And at that point, if you get the help, it can put a person on a path of health and recovery that can last your entire life. Or if you fail to make that connection, you can head down a path that's very dark and very damaging. Especially in the world that we live in, a world of prosperity, a world of success, a world of perfect families where it is not perfect. And to get that point of rescue, that point of help, can make a difference to change a person's entire life and people they deal with and future generations.
I think Mental Health Connect does a unique job of providing individualized resources and referrals to people. They also provide follow-up, which is unusual in my experience. I work in a hospital that has 40% of the beds as mental health beds, a huge outpatient mental health department. When I lost my husband to cancer, I couldn't find the resources I needed. When I found a counselor who specialized in grief counseling, it made all the difference in the world. And I think that is Mental Health Connect's unique mission. They're able to find appropriate resources for people when they're suffering.
Since our church joined Mental Health Connect, a number of other congregations have joined, and they're immediately exposed to the educational opportunities that those churches are providing. And so what used to reach a really small group of people potentially, or a specific area, can now reach a much broader audience, and many more people can benefit from the work that's being done across all of the member churches.
People who are seeking mental health are seeking purpose and connection and community and meaning, and I think people of faith are also seeking those things, and so I feel Mental Health Connect provides both.
What you're feeling, whether it's sad or anxious or nervous or lonely or isolated, yes, it's real, it's valid, and we understand that. And you're not alone. The second thing I would say, you're not alone. I remember after my son died thinking, no one else knows what this feels like. Like, there's no one that could ever help me. But I was wrong. There are people out there that know how you feel, and they can help you, and they can be such an amazing support system to you. I would also tell people that not everyone is a good support system. So if you're getting support from a family member, a partner, or a parent, or a child, and that doesn't seem right, that's okay. There's someone else out there, but you have to reach out. You have to let your guard down. You have to reach out and be vulnerable in a lot of ways, and make that call.
Well, hello. My name is Mark Benkin, and I volunteer with Mental Health Connect. We are so grateful that you have taken time out of your schedule today to learn more about Mental Health Connect and the work that we are doing. I'd like to extend an invitation to each of you to become part of the work that we're doing here at Mental Health Connect. You've had an opportunity now to learn more about what Mental Health Connect is all about, the work that we're doing, and the resources and assistance that we're able to provide folks that need to access resources and help to address a mental health challenge, either for themselves or for someone that they care about. You've had the opportunity to learn from Michael about how important and how critical it is that our brains are healthy, that our minds are healthy, because that is going to ultimately determine really the quality of our lives. So, the invitation that I would like to extend to you is to become part of the work that we are doing here at Mental Health Connect. Mental Health Connect is funded through several different streams. 20% of our support comes from our collaborative partners, primarily the church congregations and faith communities that are part of the Mental Health Connect collaborative. 40% of our funding comes from grants from various foundations and organizations. And 40% of our funding comes from the generosity of people just like yourself through their donations. So I'd like to extend that invitation to you to donate and give to Mental Health Connect. It's really easy to do. You can find us at www.mhconnect.org/donate. You can find us on your mobile device. If you're familiar with Venmo, go to Venmo at Mental Health Connect. You can find us on Instagram at Mental Health Connect. Any one of those ways, you can find us, and it's very easy to donate. You can sign up for recurring donations month after month, or you can make a one-time donation. No gift is too small. Whatever you feel you can do to be part of the work that we're doing, we will be deeply, deeply grateful for your help. So again, we ask you to connect with us, to follow us via mentalhealthconnect.org. And once again, we would like to thank all of our sponsors who have helped make today's program available. Again, we thank you and are deeply grateful for your time in learning more about Mental Health Connect. We would ask that if you know someone, if you know someone that you love, a neighbor, a coworker, a friend, perhaps it's yourself, maybe it's a family member who needs help getting access to a mental health professional or to mental health care resources, contact us. We're here for you. We're here to help you. We're here to help your loved ones, your friends, get access to the resources that they need. As you heard from Michael's story, sometimes just one person can make that difference, and you can be that one person. So thanks again for your time. Thanks again for your generosity, and we wish you health, safety, and wellness both now and in the days to come. Thank you so much.